today's topic is on the awakening of Buddhi, and this is based on a lot of texts from our Indian tradition. Nothing in particular, but of course, we are going to touch base on Bhagavad-Gita and also on the Upanishad. And so, the moment we talk about Buddhi, the first thing that comes to our mind is our intellect, our intelligence, and to what extent we can operate on our level of buddhi. And it's a time immemorial seeking that how human beings can become much more buddhi oriented, and how much we can become much more rational in our approach, and how much we are able to show our vivek, and the way we are able to discern and take certain kind of a decision making. So in today's world, we have a subject called decision making, risk mitigation, and even after so much of our studies and all, we tend to make blunders, and we find that I think I have not used my buddhi properly. So can we take certain kind of insights from our ancient texts and exactly how that can be applied? And of course, when you get into the ancient text, of course, they have a different connotation about the word buddhi. And if you get into the Sankhya Yoga, they get into the analysis of the tattva, and where there we have purusha, prakriti, buddhi, ahamkara, and the manas. And the more we understand its layers, we understand that we are not just a conglomerate of just the body and mind. There are a lot of layers, and we are unable to get into those layers and apply our self, because we get confronted only with only few elements in our life, few elemental things in our life. But there are further fundamental things in our life which makes us to function in a proper way. And there it is in the Bhagavad-Gita, the first chapter, where it is a Vishada Yoga, where Arjuna is not knowing what to do. And second chapter onwards, it's an exposition that there is a deeper self, and one has to understand the very deepest self, where there is a buddhi. And once that is getting enlightened, once that is getting illumined, then we really understand, yes, there is something of buddhi. So in the general, in the Vedantic text, we understand we use the word basically called as Chaitanya, or in the modern parlance, it is used as a consciousness. And our mind has lots and lots of layers that doesn't allow the buddhi to operate, that doesn't allow the buddhi to really function in the way it can do it naturally. So the question is, what is that makes the buddhi to get subdued and subjugated, and get induced and imposed upon so many things? And we'll find upon analysis that yes, there are not only one, there are several things that doesn't allow the buddhi to operate. And a person who has really got that vivek and understands that yes, there is something which is nitya, and there is something which is anityam, and something which is impermanent, and the world is a phenomenal flux, then one can actually take that a transcendental leap from this phenomenal flux and understand that yes, there is some higher dimension of life where one can really operate. So those are like vritti, and then of course we have the chit, that is a consciousness, and then we have the shakshin. So let's get into this, understanding these layers and how one can actually operate from the level of buddhi. So vritti is basically the flux. The vritti is the mental modification. Vritti is something that we are all are getting in our life. It is something like being in the samsara. And once we are into the samsara, we have lots of waves that is engulfing us, that is almost swallowing us, and we are unable to get in touch with the larger perspective. So we get lost into the trees, and we are unable to see the forest. We get lost into the waves, and we are unable to see the entire ocean. And waves are not going to get, they are not going to reside, they are not going to stop. So as is the waves, are coming, so is our mind also taking turns, and it takes up and down curve. Question is, how do I segregate myself from the waves, and can I see the ocean? How can I see the entire vastness of chit, that is a consciousness, amidst problems and stress that actually comes into our life? Just because we are unable to differentiate and get the distinction right, we tend to get totally invested and totally involved and totally immersed in the waves of life. And these waves are not going to reside, these waves are not going to go away, because we are all in the samsara. And the more we are in the samsara, more we get involved. Yes, we have to get involved, because it is also maintaining our body, it is also maintaining our life. And then it becomes an art that, in spite and amidst these waves, can I have a perspective at an attitudinal disposition that yes, I am in touch with the ocean. So if I am in touch with something which is very big and very large and very vast, and that is something which is all pervading, then this waves and the vriddhis that is coming every day, every second, every minute, every hour, every week may not touch me to that extent. So we're not telling that vriddhis can be absolutely reduced to zero. No, because we are all into this empirical existence. We are all into this empirical world. The only thing that we can do is to have a broader perspective of this chit, that is consciousness, which is the ground of all being. And somehow we are not trained. So to attain awakening of the Buddha is awakening of the consciousness. Awakening of Buddha is awakening of the largeness of life. Awakening of Buddha is awakening of understanding how things are working, how things are making us to function productively. It is basically getting into the very mechanics of life, how things are and how things can be. And the more we get in touch with the largeness of life, the vastness of life, then the vriddhis will not make much of differences. Vriddhis are going to be there, because at any point of time you cannot say that yes, vriddhis are not going to be there. So vriddhis are all mental modification, they're all flux, and they're all phenomena. So beyond the phenomena, there is something, and the more we get hooked to that something, and we actually find out what is that helps us to get the glimpse of the Buddhi. So it is I would say it is like a discipline of the mind, and it is basically the process by which you are able to understand that yes, there is waves, but there is an ocean also. So waves and ocean is, yes, we understand because there is something physical, but in our attitudinal world, we don't understand the ocean, because that is very difficult to conceive and perceive, because we generally understand the world by our five senses or by our intuitive understanding. Now, it requires a tremendous amount of vivek to discriminate between the experiences that we go through, and able to cut through the clutter and understand that pervading something which is the chit, that is the chit or the consciousness, and that requires certain kind of penetrating insight. So that requires a lot of discipline, and just because we have so much of flow of thoughts, we are so busy with our life in terms of the dualities, whether it is pleasure or pain, whether it is conquest or defeat, whether it is pain or pleasure. We are always in the dichotomies. We're always caught up between this duality, and this duality doesn't let us to understand what is that thing that I should be in touch with, and our entire life goes in that way. So awakening of Buddhi never happens, and it is only by stilling the mind, by practicing silence, to a large extent, this awakening of Buddhi can be understood. So it is there in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There was a dialogue between Yaganvalkya, sage Yaganvalkya, and King Janaka. And Janaka asked Yaganvalkya, so what is that makes the entire world to be illumined and to be lighted? What makes everybody to see each other? What is that? And Yaganvalkya says that that it is sun. Because of the sun, we are able to see each other, and the world is illumined, and the world is so bright. And then Janaka says, what happens once when the sun is not there, when it just sets? And then Igalpalka says that it is moon. It is because of the moon you are able to have the light, you are able to see each other. And then again, Janaka asks that what happens when the moon is not there? And again, Yagadvalka says that it is because of the fire, because of which we are able to see each other. And again, King Janaka says that when the fire is not there, what happens? So what actually makes the world to be illuminated? And then again, Yaganvalka says it is the vak, it is basically the speech that you are able to talk to, and you are able to understand each other. And again, this penetrating insight, it goes on, you peel off and you understand what exactly is the core. And again, Janaka asks, so what happens when the vak is not there, when the speech is not there? And then Yaganvalka says it is the self that makes us to really understand that yes, it is through self we understand that everything is getting illumined, everything is being lighted. And that self is Swarupa. It is Swarupa, and it is the Sakshin. It is called a witnessing consciousness. Now that is something which comes because of penetrating insights and questioning by King Janaka. The same question can be even asked by us. So what is that makes us to get lighted? Because whatever actually we see is in the world of, in the ocean of samsara. And we are all floating in the ocean of samsara. So what is that actually makes everything to pervade, everything to be permanent, and everything permanent in the context of the way we see? And that is, we consider as a nityam. But that is actually in Buddhism, they say everything is anityam. So is there something which is beyond anityam, and that is something which is nityam? So what is that which is going to be there, that makes everything and all pervasive? And that is the sakshin, and that we can actually arrive to a sakshin. So sakshin is basically witnessing consciousness. So I know there are objects, I know I have manas, I know I have things in and around you, but all those things are able to function because of certain kind of interaction, and those interactions are coming from human beings, from individuals, and from people because of certain kind of intelligence. Now, what is there this behind the ordinary intelligence? And once we are asking the question, we are able to negate some of the objective world that is in front of us, and in the process, we are able to understand there is something which is pervasive, that is something which is permanent, and that is something which is personal, because I personalize it. And that is how, through the questioning, we are able to understand that there is a Buddhi, and that is the intellect. So intellect doesn't come just by that. It requires a lot of sharp penetrating insight, and once we get into that, then it is Nitya Chaitanya Swarupa. Okay, Nitya Chaitanya Swarupa, and we are always illumined and always lighted by that particular kind of intelligence. So awakening of Buddhi is trying to understand and go beyond the Samsaric world and try to understand what is there because of which everything is existing and everything is lighted. So here the dialogue between Yaganvalka and the Janaka gives us certain kind of insight. Now let's understand, when you're talking about asking question, okay, and the typology of asking question. I mean, there are people generally. We have people who are seekers, who are discoverers, and who are inventors. So we are all trying to seek something, and there are 4 types of seekers. So first is artihi. These are the people, they are actually trying to seek something from the Lord whenever they are actually having certain kind of a suffering, or certain kind of trouble, or certain kind of a tension, certain kind of a upheavals in their life. So arthi. So we generally tend to, when I say God or absolute, we are trying to understand something beyond us, and it is a matter of faith that we have something beyond us, beyond our intellect, beyond our rational mind, beyond our way we can able to solve a problem, because a lot of problems cannot be solved. So we are trying to go to some absolute, and we're trying to seek. So we are all seekers. Seekers of what? Seekers of getting solace, so that our trouble and the tensions and the traumas are out of our life. So that is one kind of seekers. So it is arthi. Second is jigyasu. Jigyasu is far better than the first one. Okay, so it is seeker of knowledge. Okay, seeker of knowledge. I want knowledge. I want certain element of penetrating insight. I want knowledge, and knowledge is something that I'm actually looking for. And this knowledge is where I will be able to create certain kind of wealth of inside me. And this knowledge will be helping me to cross the samsaric world. So there is jigyasu, but the only thing is that we are not constant jigyasu. We are probably jigyasu to a certain age, and after a certain age we think that we have a lot to do in our life. We get business minded, we get wealth oriented, and we think that we have to amass a lot of wealth, and probably knowledge takes a very small portion of our life. So we are not actually true seekers of knowledge. We are seekers of knowledge maybe for our studies and getting degrees and getting certificates, and that is just a minuscule, a very minute percentage of the entire knowledge that exists in this entire universe. So just getting a degree is nothing compared to what actually. So it is knowledge has to get converted into realization. Okay, so we'll come to that. So the third is artha-arthi, that is seeker of wealth. And generally, many of us actually falls in this category. So we're trying to possess a lot of wealth in terms of anything which is matter, anything which is materialistic. And that is very common among people, as if that material wealth is going to give us a lot of happiness. But of course, as we grow and as we age, as we mature, as we have the wisdom, we understand that yes, I have a lot of matter with me, but probably I'm missing something in my life. So that happens to, and there's a realization, because this is something that cannot be given in a form of a knowledge to people. This is something when a person understands that yes, probably matter beyond the point doesn't have much of significance, because I make things significant, or things become significant because I signify it. So there is a signifier and there is a signified. Okay, and there's a significance process actually. So I get its significance, or it is significant to me because I give a lot of significance to it. So there's a signifier, and there's a signified, and there's a significance. So I'm giving it significance because I find that yes, it really is significant in my life. So wealth is something like that, and wealth is transitory. Because every wealth has a meaning in a given context. Probably if you go back to your childhood, a lot of toys had a lot of meaning in our childhood, and those toys today are toys to us. But those toys, probably a child will cry. Similarly, a lot of matter, maybe car, a big car or a big house, can be a matter of toys for a very realized person. This is a matter of perspective. How do you see the world around you? Okay, so if you change the way you look at things, the things around you changes. So wealth is a very, very transitory concept, and that is a very glue, is a very strong glue that doesn't allow us to awaken the Buddhi inside us, and it is self-illumination. And the last one is a Jnani, and he's actually the spiritual seeker or the knower. He's a spiritual seeker actually. He's actually looking for something. No? And that is something. Now, when Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told to Vivekananda, "Tere ko jo bhi mangna hai, to maa Kali se mang le," because after the death of Vivekananda's father, Vivekananda, they became very, very poor, and Vivekananda went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. I have a lot of suffering. Then he went to maa Kali, and he was about to ask what actually. He asked for buddhi, he asked for discrimination, he asked for vivek. And the moment he wanted to ask for wealth, he couldn't, and he came out. And then Ramakrishna told him, "Have you asked for wealth?" Bole, "No, I couldn't actually." Bole, "Go again, and you go to Mahakali, and you go ask, and whatever you have to ask." And he went again. And again he asked for buddhi, again he asked for vivek, again asked for discrimination. And he asked for vidya. And somehow he couldn't ask for wealth. And then again he came out. Ramakrishna again asked him, "Are, What have you asked? Well, wealth I couldn't, I forgot. Well, going in. And he couldn't ask actually. So realize per person, once you go to God, there is something inside you. Because the wealth is, for Vivekananda, the wealth was Vidya. For wealth was Viveka. The wealth was discrimination. So wealth is not the way actually we see wealth. So wealth is also a very, very transitory, it is a very abstract concept. For a lot actually, for many it can be a very concrete concept. So how do we see the wealth actually in our perspective? So we have Bahu Balam and we have a Buddhi Balam. Okay, we have Atma Balam. Yes, we need to be very healthy, no doubt. That's what yoga comes from. We need to really have a healthy body. Without a healthy body, you cannot have a healthy mind actually. So Buddhi Balam is also required with the Bahu Balam, and also we need a lot of Atma Balam. So awakening the Buddhi is an integration of discipline of the mind, body, spirit and intellect. And when all these things are connected, we understand that yes, it makes difference. So seekers, okay, so we can actually understand that which category we become. So one is Arthi, which is we are going to the Lord, that is the Lord itself is all pervading consciousness, and we are actually trying to make ourselves free from sufferings and tensions and stress. Second is Jigyasu, that is actually we are seeker of knowledge. Yes, we are all seeker of knowledge, but we are not seeker of knowledge continuously and permanently, because especially the knowledge of Vedantic science, the knowledge of Upanishad is not going to come to individuals just like that, and it requires certain element of blessings and certain element of tapas. Don't only after a certain amount of time you find that you have started liking Bhagavad-Gita, you started liking Upanishad, and once you turn the pages of Upanishad, you'll find that yes, you are getting connected to that. This is some of my personal experiences that I have actually gone through. So it is a arduous task, and you'll find once you get into that, you'll find that each and every page has jewels in that, and that makes you so strong in terms of your Atma Balam that you can actually handle any kind of thing. You can actually conquer any kind of things in your life in a large extent, and at least you will be getting a lot of solace. Okay. Artha Arthi is the seeker of wealth, and the last is the Gyani, that is a seeker of the spiritual knowledge. So, if you actually go by the Bhaja Govindam, that is a fantastic treatise written by Shankaracharya. I mean, he composed those few slokas. It is not much actually, but of course it is so profound. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Samiprati Sanita Kale Nahi Rakshita. Okay. Dukran Karane. So it is talking about Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Mudhamans for people who are deluded. So our awakening of Buddhi doesn't happen because we are deluded, Mudhamate. And Bhaja means you are trying to go for an upasana. You are trying to really look for something which is absolute. Bhaja Govindam. Govindam is a lot. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Like, hey, fool, hey, you are deluded. Try to understand exactly what is the absolute. And once that absolute is being illumined, which is self-effulgent and which is Swarupa, okay, it is Nityam and Swarupa, we understand that yes, that is actually, we are operating from the Buddhi. You are not operating from the normal objective consciousness, but you are operating from a consciousness kind of background. So you shift, the moment you shift your approach from the objective level to the consciousness level, the Buddhi starts actually functioning. So most of us, our Buddhi is not functioning because we are too object oriented, or rather we are too emotions oriented, we are too rational oriented. So once we are intuitive in our process, once we are deep and understanding that what is that chit, what is that shaksin, okay, what is that witnessing consciousness, the Buddhi starts operating. So it requires certain element of vivek, and it requires certain element of vairagya to operate and to awaken the Buddhi level. Okay, maybe few more things to understand. So you'll find that in the Bhagavad-Gita also, they talk about one is field and that is the knower of the field. One is called Kshetra, like we say Kurukshetra or the Dharma Kshetra. Physics, of course, talks a lot about field. We have magnetic field, we have electromagnetic field. Okay, so we understand that there is a field or there is a playground where a lot of things are actually happening, and Kshetra is the cosmic. It is something which is organic. Okay, whereas Kshetragyan is something which is the intelligent source of this observed universe. So am I able to observe something? Kshetragyan. So one is something we're trying to understand the field, the way the field is. Okay, that is the organic and the human being and the matter and the material concept. And the Kshetragyan is basically knower of the field. So we are generally caught up in the field, but we are not caught up in the Kshetragyan. And if the knower in me is getting activated, then there's a lot of awakening of the Buddhi. So here we are trying to understand three dimensions. One is the knower, one is the object of the knowledge, and then there is the knowledge. So as we have seen, one is a signifier, one is signified, and then there is a significance. So similarly, we have the knower. So you are the knower, and the object of the knowledge is object under study, and knowledge is something that actually we are getting. And this is in fusion, it is called as Tripudi or Tripura Rahasya. It is a mystery actually. So we are all generally getting caught in the object of knowledge and the knowledge, but not the knower. So behind the object of the knowledge and the knowledge, there is a knower. So who is the knower? And the knower is the sakshin, is the consciousness. And the more the knower is getting infused with the consciousness and effulgent and becomes swarupa, and the buddhi starts operating in the higher dimension. So we are able to differentiate between the knowledge and the object of knowledge. So we are so invested in the knowledge and the object of knowledge, the very knower itself is getting subdued and subjugated. So it doesn't have much of a significance. So can I put a lot of emphasis on the knower? So the very instrument of getting knowledge. So once we are able to cultivate the very mind, the very buddhi, and then automatically knowledge and the object of knowledge can be conquered very, very easily. So it's a discipline, and it's a process by which we will be able to cut through the clutter of objectification of the world, and with a lot of discipline and a lot of prayas, we can actually understand the way things can really operate. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is to talk about 4 typologies of human beings, and that is very, very interesting, and where you will understand how exactly these awakening of buddhi can really operate. One is 4 types of human being. One is baddha, and baddha. One is mumukshu. One is mukta, and another is nitya mukta. Now baddha is basically the people who are bound and happy to be bound. That is all our Samsaric. We are all into the Samsaric world, and we feel that chalo theek hai. I am happy to be bounded, and I'm happy to be wherever I am actually. We are all bounded, baddha, and we don't take any kind of a chesta, any prayas is not there to really come out of that. So that is one category of people. So they are fine. So second is mumukshu, and these are the people who are struggling, people who are trying to get free. So that is mumukshu. Moktam ichuhu is called mumukshu. Moktam ichu. I want to get free, but somehow I am getting caught up between my spiritual journey and my spirituality and my family and my objective world and my material world and my wealthy world. So sometimes I'm into the spiritual world and sometimes into my family world. We get stuck up. Many of us are actually stuck up between this world of spirituality and world of materiality. That is mumukshu, but of course there's a struggle. And the third is mukta, those who escaped from the bondage and became free. Mukta. A lot of people belong to that category also. They are quite advanced in their spiritual struggle and in their spiritual process. And they are meditators, and they may be the jivas, they may be in this samsaric world, but to a large extent, many things are not able to touch them. So they have crossed those boundaries. They are mukta, but there are a chance that they may get tempted by something, so they may again get back to the material world. Okay, and the last one is called nitya mukta. They are ever free, and Maya cannot take them in their clutches. So, and in their net actually, that is called nitya mukta. So they are much more advanced people actually. So see, it's a gradation of our awakening of buddhi. So amidst being in this world of object and a world of vritti, in the world of mental modification and the world of fluctuation, the world of phenomenal flux, one still can develop what is that is illuminating the entire world. What is that is Swarupa? What is that is the Chitta? What is that is Sakshin? What is that is witnessing consciousness? And once you're able to operate from that domain, then the world will be something like a film, and everything appears, everything happens, but I don't get attached, I don't get drunk, I don't get immersed, because I have a bigger picture. And once we're able to tap that through our discipline and through our vivek and vairagya, we are able to operate from our buddhi. And this is just discipline. This process of discipline is in the process where you're trying to awaken the buddhi inside us. That's all.